I am Todd from GoodCleanFunLife.com.
And I'm Tony Russo, no relation. We got all sorts of fun stuff coming up this week. I had a blast this weekend. Todd had a blast and also worked this weekend. I did not work this weekend. And so I broke my 1 week in a row streak of providing news for you guys to consume. It's just going to be all about us today. But we had newsy experiences and good experiences. And, well, let's just start with Fiddlers Convention because I want to bury the lead on mine a little bit, and I want to give you a chance to talk before I just keep talking and the half hour's over.
That's all right. I think I commandeered most of the time last week. The Fiddlers convened in America's coolest small town, Maryland's coolest small town at least. We don't need anybody to tell us that. But we had it was a good time. Actually, it was fun to be back behind the beer taps, pouring some burley oak for people coming through town. Friday night is always a great time at Fiddlers Convention. I think it's probably one of the more enjoyable times because they don't have all those, the contests with like little kids and stuff like that.
Right.
Nobody wants to hear that crap. But they got the streets are full. It was actually neat. They've done it the last 2 years, but I don't think I was here last year. They actually closed down the street overnight and had the stage set up down at our end of the street, down in front of Leaky Pizza, one of the newer establishments here in town. Which was it was just the street full of people listening to music on a cool fall evening, late September evening is really I don't know. It's just one of those moments where you really realize that is why people like it around here.
I gotta say, where is Leaky Pete's? Did you say Leaky Pete's?
Yeah, Leaky Pete's is just as you're coming into town. It's where formerly Tex-Mex and Beyond, formerly Polish food and something else. It's been a variety of different things. Leaky Pete's under new ownership. New
non-child molesting ownership?
Under existing owner, they actually brought it from Cambridge. So there was a Leaky Pete's that was in Cambridge.
Oh, did Leaky Pete's leave Cambridge?
Yes.
And isn't it Sneaky Pete's?
No, Sneaky Pete's is down next to Hooper's.
Oh, all right.
So, yeah, that confused me too.
Oh, wow, because Leaky Pete's is a big deal in Cambridge. That must be news there.
Yeah. In fact, I think the news is because we've been up there relatively recently that they had closed down for renovations, and it was a tiny little place.
Right. It was like literally you walked into a closet and then it.
Yeah. So I guess the what happened is they told everybody they were closing down for renovations, and whether it was premeditated or not, decided. And while doing renovations, we're going to open up down here in Berlin. At some point, they decided not to open back up in Cambridge. So yeah, we get a nice restaurant that's established, and actually, it's the couple times we've been in here, it's been pretty good. I think they're like every place always having a hard time to find good service or servers.
Right.
But the ones that they brought in have been great.
One of the things that's fun about that is I believe that Patrick Fanning, I believe they passed an ordinance that said all restaurants downtown have to be owned by Patrick Fanning, which is the other reason that Leaky Pete's had to leave.
Yeah, that may be the case.
I'll tell you what, the man does a great job. He does a good job. Not a great. If you. And I mean this in the best way. If you go to any restaurant with 4 people, 3 people are going to have a good meal, right? And one person might be a little dicey. And that's just the way it is. I mean, unless you're paying money for a restaurant experience, if you're going to a mid-level restaurant, that's kind of the way it works. But I think he does a great job generally. So yeah. I'll be looking forward to seeing what restaurant he puts in the former Leaky Pete's space, probably in time for next summer.
Yes.
Maybe they'll put another like a craft beer tasting room type thing, as they did that someplace in Easton, like a Washington pub kind of thing, where they just have tons of beers on tap.
Yeah, that would be good. And it's right there, Cambridge, and now they have RAR there is growing, and they just rolled out their canning line this weekend also, or rolled out cans that they're now selling. So that's that's fun and exciting stuff in Cambridge. But you're right. We've enjoyed both Stoked. We went there with the family. It's one of Patrick Fanning's restaurants, as well as that other place is great, the High Spot.
The High Spot is. It's funny, they changed managers recently. And the girl who used to run, the woman, the lady who so it's just, you come up as a chauvinist, and it's hard to kick the habit. The lady running it used to run Tall Tales. So that's like a little. It was like one of those things where like we were looking at each other like we knew one another, but both of us were out of context because neither one of us was at Tall Tales.
Yeah,
and that became confusing. But yeah, so good luck to the High Spot. They're doing the Lord's work. So Leaky Pete's and the Fiddlers Convention. Sorry, yeah. Sunday night closed down the streets.
Yeah, and it was enjoyable. Like, so Leaky Pete's, the building has this upstairs area, which hopefully they turn into more of like a loungy area. There's been rumors of that, but it was cool to be able to almost like a little VIP deck, go out there watching the acts on Friday night was very enjoyable. And of course Saturday was great. It was a beautiful day, selling beer for the chamber. And of course, Natalie running around doing her presidential chamber duties as well as selling beer. It was a good time and a good time had by all. But we had to get to bed early on Saturday night because we were headed up to Wilmington. Spreading our wings wider and further. Headed up to the Columbus Inn, which is this old inn that's been redone a couple times now, but I don't know. It's just this cool kind of speakeasy feeling. It's like it's a real nice date place. You sit at a big bar and soft leather red chairs, and they're rolling out their brunch. So we were up there doing some photos and promotion for them, and their brunch, is a buffet, but they have ahi tuna and high-end grilled cheese, make your own grilled cheese bar, and cheese. Yeah, it was really pretty cool. So I would definitely recommend, if you're headed that direction, heading north, to check that out. But it was and then we came back and we stopped at one of our spots now that we're doing some work with, the Crab House, right there off of Route 1 in the Rehoboth Lewis area. And it was pretty funny because this is a typical football place, and this is where I've been roped into fantasy football. And I long stayed away from paying attention during the week and even during the off season, and I always credit that to being the reason I am a Redskins fan, because I don't pay attention except for whistle the whistle on Sunday. But it was fun. It was fun, and oddly enough, turns out that on my team that was not set up by me, I have a Ben Roethlisberger as my quarterback. So I have I sat down next to a Steelers fan, and they won big, and I was happy about it. And all of my friends who are Ravens fans, maybe not as pleased as I was, but it was a good time for sure.
Yeah, I have in my head a million-word essay, like almost a book-length essay that I'm never going to write about fantasy football. There's so many fascinating, interesting points about fantasy football that I can barely get my head around it. But I want to share just 3 with you, and I'm not trying in any way to take the fun away or to be a jerk about it, because I don't, even though it might sound like I'm saying them in a bad way, I'm not. And that's all I can say about that.
Right.
Conspiracy theory, number 1. The NFL now participates with places like FanDuel and DraftKings, and they actually even run their own fantasy sports program. Like, you can play fantasy football on NFL. They have, I noticed Sunday, they have NFL players promoting the NFL's fantasy football program.
Yep.
What I love about this, and I just saw this commercial yesterday, so it's really been on my mind because I've been thinking about it before. What fantasy football does is it makes the owners stronger and the teams weaker. because as you know, or may not, as you may or may not know, like when teams want to move, there's usually a huge uproar from the fan base. Like, you can't take our team. This is our team. This team belongs to us, right? But most Sundays, you're going to be rooting for Ben Roethlisberger, who's not only not a Redskin, but sometimes we will be rooting against your interest because you have a more vested interest in the players. So the players like it for now because they have a little bit more exposure and a little bit more power. But as fantasy football begins to undermine the team structure, when they want to start moving teams from place to place, it's going to be a little bit easier. It's kind of greasing the wheels for the owners to be able to take the teams where they can get the most money from them. Yeah. That's thing number one. Thing number two is I feel like our generation is kind of powering this, and I think it's because we're getting old and we've gone from I want to be a football player to I want to be a general manager. It's like we don't think about how we can what kind of plays we would make, right? We don't, and this is me. I'm not talking about you, but I probably am talking about you. We don't think what kind of plays we would make or what kind of tactics we would use because it's physically beyond our abilities. But what is not beyond our abilities is making the kind of deals that it would take to put together a real football team, not some shitty one like the Redskins or the Jets, who are confined, to having to pick out like each individual lineman. Fuck that. Just a defense-ish. Yeah. And so those two things have just really, really been grating on my mind since January or February. I guess February is the tough. February is when, as not famously, but just famously for me, Hunter Thompson killed himself. And he said his suicide note, like literally said, "Football season's over. There's nothing else to think about. I'm gonna go blow my brains out." And so it was during that cringing, sucking time when people were just dying for entertainment, and also I believe that's when they started gearing up the fantasy baseball in a big way. Not FanDuel, the DraftKings. I listen to a lot of podcasts, and DraftKings sponsors a lot of podcasts. So
they're everywhere. Yeah,
and so gearing up in a big way for baseball to kind of sink their fingers into baseball, for better or for worse. I'm not, again, no judgment. For better or for worse, sink their fingers into baseball. And I began to kind of think about, well, what is this? Why are we compelled to play? And how are they doing it? I mean, they famously have made it a skill game. Now, I don't know what other skill games you're allowed to bet on nationally.
Yeah.
But I don't think there are literally any. I think there are literally none. This is the, and now they're sponsored, like the NFL partners with them, the Major League Baseball partners with them, solely because they are not a betting thing. They're not betting. It's a skill game that costs money.
Well,
God bless. It's like the stock market, I guess. I guess it really is set up like the stock market. Like, no, you're buying shares in this, and then you see how you do based on your performance. So,
well, I'm not one of the people who are claiming, I don't know, the moral majority or whatever, but it's legalized gambling, and does legalized gambling lead to worse things? I did hear the other day that there's a website where you can basically buy stock in political people, like who's going to be on the top of the polls. You buy stock in it, and you can make money and all of this. But I absolutely think you're right. Even what you said about we're getting older now as a generation. Even our flag football team, our friend Chris, who's much younger than I am, even. We were making jokes about how he's like the Ozzie Newsome because he recruited a bunch of guys that he works for, and we did really well in flag football. So, like, when you were a kid growing up, did you talk about the general manager or the or coordinators or that sort of thing? Never. But also, I think the 1991 film, The Last Boy Scout, accurately depicted the death of the NFL, and talked about it. It's actually funny because I often go back to it. Great movie with Bruce Willis and what's his name?
Damon Wayne.
Yeah, and talk about once they started publishing the injury reports, that and free agency basically kills it. So yeah, you have everybody moving around, which makes to your point, making the owner stronger and than the players. Yeah, it's pretty funny. I'm just waiting for somebody to shoot somebody on the field.
Yeah, I guess that isn't a bridge too far, but and tied in with that is I've been very vocal about this. I have several. Really, no, sit down. I hope you're sitting down. I have several opinions that lots of people don't just find like offensive, not just like, oh, I don't agree with you, like, oh, I wish you weren't alive kind of things. And one of them is that I don't have any problem, like once you become an NFL player, if they want to genetically modify you, I have no problem with that at all.
Yeah.
Just like I don't have any problem on this podcast modifying my face to be less red, as if I didn't drink as much as I did this weekend. I don't mind modifying people on the field. Speaking of this weekend,
yeah, you speaking of modified, you were able to modify your status in life by escaping some zombies.
I did actually. I failed to escape the zombies. I was caught. I became a member of the infected. I participated in the Zombie 5K, the Zombie Mud Run in Wildwood, New Jersey this weekend, and there was plenty of stuff going on, and it was an absolute blast. It was way, way harder than I thought it was going to be, but at the same time, it was not nearly as hard as it could have been. So for those of you who don't know, this is the fourth year I've tried to plan to do it. This is the first year I've actually succeeded in planning and then executed it. Nobody chickened out or anything. It's just the timing never worked out. But this year the timing worked out, and my brothers one of my brothers, one of my cousins, and my best friend Keith, and our significant wives, I think just all wives. Keith is a single guy, and I think everybody else had a wife with them. Kelly didn't run, but we all ran in the Zombie 5K. And the premise of it is like flag football, where you put on flag football, three flag football flags, and you run, and they grab your flags. And once they've grabbed your last flag, you're out, but you have to finish. The obstacles weren't bad. They weren't as cool because they were on the beach. Usually, if you see the ones that are through the woods, there's like barbed wire or tires involved. These were more just huge sand pits pushed up into even huger dunes. And running up a dune is as easy as you think it is. And at mile number 2.5, running up a dune is really fucking hard.
Yeah.
And they also had these A-frame things where you'd have to climb up and climb down. And my upper body got the kind of workout that my upper body usually doesn't get. So I was achy. I was kind of doomed from the start, and I lost. So the bell went off, and I ran up the first hill. Fine, and there were three of us. There were six of us, three athletic people who just disappeared, and then two non-athletic people, Keith and I, and my brother Bobby, who is very athletic and in excellent shape. But it was Keith and Bobby's and I idea, so he felt like he should stay with us to kind of, help us along and protect us. And we got to some of the obstacles. We literally had to step on one another to get up and over. Keith and I, not Bobby. Bobby just climbed right over, but he'd climb over and then come back so we could step on him and get over the obstacle. But right out of the gate, I ran up the hill, I ran down the hill, and my belt fell off. I avoided a bunch of zombies, and then my belt fell off. And not only did it fall off, but the flags fell off it as well. So I had to pick the flags up, and I was trying to thread them back onto the belt and then tie the belt around my huge gut. Unfortunately, the rules are you can't run past the zombie with the belt in your hand or you're disqualified. So there was a zombie chasing me, and I was backpedaling while I was trying to thread this. Then all of the zombies who I had already passed ran ahead of me to the end of the next obstacle. So I kind of felt like I was doomed from the start. I did get it tied back on, and then I got past almost all the zombies. And then one, I tried to get fancy, and I did like a spin move. And when I spun around, my guys flied up, and since I didn't thread it properly, there were 2 together, and she grabbed both of them. And she wasn't which is technically cheating, but she wasn't trying to cheat. She was trying to grab one. She grabbed 2. And so I was kind of hampered on my way through. And we got through many obstacles, which included riding on a roller coaster and riding down a water slide, and those very Zombielandish, which was a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
But what happened toward the end was Bobby also got screwed by me, because there were these 2 little girls, I like 12 or 14, and they completely blocked the passageway, so you couldn't get by without losing a flag. And I knew I already had 1 flag to go, so I ran up to them and I just screamed right in their faces, like, ah! And they both jumped on Bobby, and I ran past. So he lost his flags because I scared these little girls. And so I gave him mine, and then he lost it in a gauntlet later on, which was unavoidable. But what happened was Keith, who was the slowest even of me, he needed breathers and stuff, because like I go to the gym, so I had plenty of lung strength. My legs were fucked, but I had plenty of lung strength. But he needed to take a blow every now and again. So he had 1 flag left. So Bobby and I put our empty flags, belts, on top of each other, like on top of our clothes.
Yeah.
And whenever we got to zombies, we put our hands up and say, "Oh, they got us already." And so the zombies, we just let all 3 of us by.
So you outsmarted the zombies.
What we say is we Michonne them. I don't know if you've seen The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
But Michonne has 2 zombies that she keeps in front of her, so the zombies can't smell her, and so she can walk by.
Oh, yeah, right.
And that's what we did. We were just like, "Oh, they got us," and they let us walk by. And so we finished. It took us a little bit more than an hour, which wasn't bad, because there were a lot of backups at the various obstacles.
Yeah.
But it was a blast, and I can highly recommend it if you have the opportunity. It is worth doing. It is harder than you think if you've never done one before. But the second one is going to be easier, because when we were running, we didn't have a good sense of, like, for instance, how far and how many obstacles and things like that. Once we were done, we're like, okay, if I did it again, I would know how to go about it.
Right,
so,
right.
The most important thing is, though, if you should sign up with a group, and you should stay together as a group, because it will increase your odds of survival. We had a 50% survival rate. Three of our people got killed, and 3 of our people survived. But we all got medals, and there's a picture of me with a medal on the internet, and it was fun.
That's good. That's good. And probably best that you didn't become a real zombie too. I mean, because that had the potential for happening, I feel.
Well, it would have cost more money, but you can sign up to run in one wave and be a zombie in another wave. Okay. Which is fun and fair. If you have to sign up for one of these things, I would recommend the earlier wave, because the other thing that we made a mistake in doing is we had a later wave, and there were more zombies. Like in the first one, there were very few zombies, because nobody was getting up at 8 o'clock in the morning to be a zombie. Right. Lots of people got up at 10 o'clock in the morning to be zombies. So another little trick of the trade that we're familiar with now. Then I took the ferry home just in time to catch the end of the OC Toberfest brew. For those of you who don't know, October 24th in Northside Park, there will be an Oktoberfest, OC Toberfest, with all local beers and only local beers, and a limit of 600 tickets, I think, or 700. They're just only, not many tickets gonna be sold. And what they've done is they made 2 special beers specifically for the event. 5 or 6 of the local brewers got together at Asselwoman Brewing yesterday and brewed them. One is a fall. They're both fall beers. One's fall breakfast and the other one's fall lunch, I guess. The fall breakfast one has molasses and smoke and oatmeal. It's supposed to be like a breakfast, it's got the elements of breakfast in it. And the other one it's a brown fall beer made with beets, which I'm really interested to taste. Both were designed by Doug and Sean of Extreme Brewing, who were also there to kind of help things along. And one of the coolest parts, and I'll be putting this on the internet a little bit, is there's a guy down, his name was Brad, and he's a cellarman in Flying Dog. over in Frederick, right? Frederick?
Yep.
All right. So Flying Dog over in Frederick, he's a cellarman there. And apparently when you're a cellarman in Frederick, one of the things you're allowed to do is travel with a case of beer in your trunk. So like a sampler case. So he was literally in town in Ocean City just for the weekend. He saw on someone's Facebook page that they were doing this brew together, and he just showed up to hang out. And that was just very cool. And then he's like, "Hey, you guys want some beer?" In a brewery. Yeah, we need more. You know what we need? Those 400 gallons? Yeah, we need another case right on top of the 400 gallons. So he brought in some beer, and I had over the weekend, I wasn't sober for long. And I almost said I didn't want it. I did. It's in the refrigerator. I didn't drink it. I didn't drink it all yesterday. I'm probably not going to drink for another couple of days. It was a long weekend. But he sent me home. You know, we each got a little 4-pack taster that we brought home. And that's the kind of cool thing that happens in the brewing community that I feel very fortunate to be able to be part of, because I don't have, my skill is saying you should drink that beer. It's good. Like that is like the beginning of an end. I mean, I say it like cleverly and loudly and often, but I don't even make the words. I make other words and I just arrange them and then I put them near the beer. These guys are actually making stuff all the time and they do a great job and they let me hang out with them. And then they give me beer and that is fucking awesome.
You should feel good because my talent is just drinking beer myself and then showing people pictures of it. You know?
And speaking of which, we probably should get ready to close up on that. We will be drinking beer and speaking about it next weekend, the weekend after.
October 4th, not this weekend, but the following weekend will be, Sunday, October 4th, we're doing the fall beer tasting here at the Crow Bar. And yeah, we've discussed it. We've actually had 2 episode number 98s. This is episode 99. And even though we're probably more like around 250 or so, we're going to do a live one, 201, 200. We'll just call it,
I think we can call it 200. We'll call the next one 199.5.
Yeah. We'll figure that out. We'll actually be together talking, which will be fun, and drinking, which will be even more fun. So that will, so that's the next Sunday. That will be, I don't know, not next Sunday, the following Sunday. So we can, 199.5. We'll tease that again.
And hopefully we'll get some people maybe to participate. Maybe we can do a double thing where we use some equipment to do like a proper live stream as we were going to try to do this week, and then have people be able to text in questions or participations from wherever they are. I think it's okay I'm going to announce it. Toby is getting ready to leave Third Wave, and they'll be bringing somebody else on soon. And so our hope is to have them on the new podcast and get them introduced. I'm trying to do more. The things I'm trying to do more with are I'm trying to talk to more beer salespeople and tasting people. And, I've done all the brewers. I've done them all twice. And so now it's time to get like into this middle thing. The other thing I'm doing, and I'm sure that you guys will have a submission, so I'd love to talk to you about it, is I'm trying to get people who make recipes using local beer and talk to them about what they make with what, and maybe trying to get some recipes together and get some printed, and get some pictures and stuff up, because it's a cool thing to do. I told you I was inspired by the Dewey people. I mean, Asselwoman does it. Asselwoman cooks with wort. And I know Chesapeake Bay Brewing does it. They make beer bread and they put their oatmeal porter in their hamburgers, I think. But and Dewey Beach makes the Saison mussels. But what I'd like to talk about is like civilians who go out and buy beer specifically to cook with, and who specifically buy local beer specifically to cook with. So hopefully over the next couple of weeks we'll have several stories like that.
Okay.
And that's it for me this week. As far as things coming. I didn't get to talk about it, but I gave a fun beer talk in Seaford last Thursday, and that was a blast. And I will be restarting the Storify page tomorrow morning, so you can follow us on OSSURYNOT at Storify to see what kind of stories we may or may not be discussing from local papers and original reportage.
Yes, yes.
And what do you got coming up this week? Anything?
This week is going to be preparing for next week, and yeah, I mean we're actually going to be shooting today a drunk history of the Bloody Mary, so stay tuned for that. That will be fun.
That's fun.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that'll sum it up for now. I got nothing. How about you?
I got nothing.
We got to rework that. I forgot what I used to say now, and it feels very tacked on, guys. I'm sorry for having it feel tacked on. We're gonna get it fixed. We're also gonna do some fun audio stuff, I think, in the coming weeks. Stay tuned.
Oh, okay. Yes.
But so until next week, may Todd give you the sense to live in a small town.
We'll see you next week at Coffee Happy Hour.
Happy Coffee Hour.
Cheers.